Now, while thousands of matrics anxiously prepare for likely maths and physical science rewrites next week, a Joburg private school is offering a helping hand. Former Redhill School pupils and now university students Max Coleman and Jack Scott-King developed an education platform for the school, as well as online masterclasses to help grade 12s study. Now, pending tomorrow's court decision on the rewrites, Redhill School is now offering to make the masterclasses in those two subjects available free online. I'm joined now by the executive head of Redhill, Joseph Gerassi. Joseph, thanks so much for joining us. Just tell me about these online masterclasses. How did these two youngsters develop the idea? Why did the school want to support it? And how has it helped the matrics this year?
Right, thanks, Sally. I appreciate the opportunity, especially that it gives us an opportunity to allow all matric students to know that, we're giving these master classes free of charge. As you said, Max and Jack came to us as ex-Redhillians, and they had a platform that they had already established. And we decided that we'd like to work together with them to set up at the beginning, because of coronavirus, master classes for our own students so that they would be able to at home be able to revise for their exams. But what was really important for us is that we have our own partner schools such as iSchool Africa, the Tomorrow Trust, the Alexander Education Committee, and we also wanted to make sure that these partner schools had these additional masterclasses to help them. And so that's how, we kind of went about it. We did, have them on our platform for IEB students to be able to look at, because they were specifically in all subjects made for IEB students. But when we realized that where we were in South Africa in terms of our matric students having to rewrite science and maths, we realized that in those particular subjects there was a lot of crossover between the government exam and the IB, and we just thought that as a private school we needed to play our part in helping these students to do the best that they could. There's so much negativity around these students having to write the exams again, and we thought, you know what, guys, we think you're going to have to write them in order for the exams to be credible and reliable, but let's be a little bit positive about it. You've got a second chance to write these papers. We know that your teachers are busy marking and that it's really difficult and that you guys are frustrated. Here is a little bit of help if we can help in any way. So we have 13 master classes in mathematics and 20 master classes in physical science that we think will really help our students throughout South Africa. And so my message to those students is don't get drawn into this negativity.
Sure.
Here is a second chance to write these papers. Let us help you in any way we can. And
these master classes, they're available free online. How do students access them?
So if they they just have to get onto Subjex with an X, subjex.io. They register free of charge, and then they will be able to get them straight away. They are short episodes, which makes it really easy to be able to view, and absolutely free to anyone who wants to access them.
And how useful have your matrics found them? What sort of feedback have you got on these masterclasses?
Well, we had brilliant feedback. I think really what is important about the masterclass series is often students in a classroom situation miss out on important things, but because they're in a classroom, they feel sometimes a bit embarrassed to ask the teacher, can we go through it again? Here is a wonderful way of being able to pause, rewind, relook at what the teacher said in your own time at home, and so it's helped them tremendously.
That's really good news, and we're going to be putting up that address so that anyone who's facing those rewrites can access those masterclasses in maths and physical science and just really get right into the revision. I want to ask you another question. We heard last night from our health minister that to a certain extent the second wave has been pushed forward by teenagers between the ages of 15 and 19 going to these parties and spreading the virus. How do we get through to teenagers and effect behaviour change, bearing in mind that at that age they want to rebel and they often feel utterly invincible?
Sorry, I wish I had more time to go into this because it's really about the psychology, in terms of how teenagers' brains are developing at this stage. And we mustn't make the mistake to think that teenagers don't understand that what they're doing is risky. They understand that as well as any adult. But at this particular stage in their life, the whole concept of their peers and impressing their peers are far more important than any other age group. So whereas you and I as adults might not be drawn into risky behavior because we don't feel we need to impress our peers, when we're looking at teenagers, the way their brains work at this particular time is that they are far more sensitive to the rewards of peer relationships, and they are far more distressed when they are rejected by their peers. So when you have an event like rage, which I have to say, if we understand the teenage brain, by the mere fact that these events were allowed to take place, I really think is almost verging on criminal, because what we're doing is we're putting a bunch of teenagers with their peers who will move into risky behavior in terms of dangerous driving, drug use, drinking, and risky sexual behavior. We're putting them all together and saying, run loose. And the only way that you can really deal with this, well, there's two ways. One, yes, you have to be able to say to teenagers, you need to understand that even if you are not going to be in as much danger, when you are going to come home and you're going to be with your parents, with your grandparents especially, you run the risk of putting these people in a situation where they could die of the disease. So that's one way of doing it. But if you ask me, the fact that parents would allow their children to go down to an event like this is just so irresponsible. At some stage, parents need to sit their children down and say, you may not do this. I mean, our president asked us, in his address, to make sure that we looked after each other. Parents need to make sure that they're looking after their children and not buy into the peer pressure. If you're going to go on holiday, go with your kid. If your kid is with you, they will evaluate risk, but they won't partake in the risk because they're not there with their peers. And I think we just all as adults have to understand where our children are and be able to say, no, you can't do this. So our kids might not like us for a week or two, but at the end of the day, we're in a pandemic. This is not just about your child not liking you. It's about this risky behavior that is putting the entire country at risk. And as parents, I urge you at this really important time, especially with them now going on holiday, to be able to say, no, not now.
Thank you so much. Such a strong message there. That was the executive head of Redhill School. Thank you very much, Joseph Gerassi. And if you want to access those free masterclasses, if you're facing a rewrite of maths or physical science, the masterclass address is subjex.io. That's subjex.io. Free masterclasses in those very intensive subjects.